ॐ अज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जलशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितान्तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चाद्यतीशतारिणे श्रीकृष्ण जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। गीतशास्त्रम् इदं पुण्यं या पठेत् प्रयतः पुमान् विष्णुं पदम् अवाप्नोति भयशोकादिवर्जिता गीतध्यायानशीलस्य प्राणायामपरस्य च नैविशन्ति पापानि पुनर्जन्म कृतानि च मलने मोचनं पुंसां जलस्नानं दिने दिने सकृद्गीतामृतस्नानं संसारामलनाशनं गीतासु गीतकर्तव्यं किं मन्ये शास्त्रविस्तरे या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्मद्विनिश्रिता भारतामृतसर्वस्वं विष्णुवक्त्रद्विनिश्रितं गीतगङ्गोदकं पीत्वा पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपालनन्दना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् एकं शास्त्रं देवकी पुत्रगीतम् एको देवो देवकी पुत्र एव एको मन्त्रस्तस्य नामानि यानि कर्मापि एकं तस्य देवस्य सेवा। So today I'm going to present the 15th chapter, the Yoga of the Supreme Person or the Purushottama Yoga. So the acronym for this is HOME. First section will be talking about detachment, and then second section will be talking about the transmigration of soul from one body to another. Third section will be talking about Krishna's position and how we can appreciate Krishna as the maintainer and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in the last section, we'll be talking about the essence of the Vedanta and its the result of who understands it. Okay, so the continuation is in the end of chapter 14th. We understand that through devotion, one who takes up to devotional service, they can transcend the three modes of nature. But to attain devotional service, one needs detachment from the material world. So this chapter starts with a metaphor of a banyan tree. Through which Krishna will explain why detachment is needed in the first five slokas. Uh, does anyone want to read the first? It's
श्रीभगवानुवाच ऊर्ध्वमूलमदशाकम् अश्वत्थं प्राहुरव्ययम् छन्दांसि यस्य पर्णानि यस्तं वेद स वेदवित्. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas."
Okay, so Krishna starts with this metaphor, and I just want to explain how this metaphor is related. So here it's telling the leaves are the Vedic hymns, because from the leaves itself, the fruits and the flowers come. So through Vedic hymns like karma kandis and all, they can like fulfill their wishes, and the fruits are the results of our karma, and the branches are different modes, and like each living being is placed on each branch according to his previous karmas. So and he can take the help of the leaves to get what he wants and elevate himself to a better place. But many people, most Vedas are for the benefit of people, for like karma kandis, karma yogis, to do what they want. But Krishna's telling that's like those who know the leaves alone won't elevate themselves. The one of who knows the trees is the knower of Vedas. So how to know the tree, we need to know the source of the tree. Source of the tree is Krishna. So one who understands that Krishna is the source of the tree is the actual knower of Vedas. Even though they don't have to know they don't have to particularly read the whole Vedas and like know each leaf, but they still know the whole tree because they know who's the root cause. So that's one way to say that Bhakti Yoga is the best, because you understand the source and then you know the whole tree. And so thus you're the knower of Vedas, and you know that the purpose is to go back to Godhead. And in the next verse, Krishna explains that each one of us is placed in a particular branches according to our like past lives, and the twigs are the sense objects. So according to what branch we are standing on, we are attracted to some particular twigs, like the sense objects, and we get bounded by this world. Karma bandhuni manushya loke. So if someone doesn't understand that get we have to cut this tree down, they get bounded by the karma in this world, and then they keep taking birth in the same world again and again. That's why Krishna says that this tree has like it's not perceivable. We don't know where the end is, where the beginning is, because like an upside down tree, like he's saying urthamula adashaka, the roots are upwards and the branches are downwards. So this tree is not natural. We have never seen trees upside down. So this tree is not the true, it's a reflection of the real world. So this tree cannot be perceived, and that's why we cannot pull it down, because it's very strongly rooted. So we need to cut it down with the axe of detachment. Asanga shastrena dridena chitva. We need to cut down the tree with the axe of detachment. And how can we how can we make this acts of detachment? By finding out that Krishna is the cause, and by knowing that Krishna is the cause, we understand that this is a reflection and we need to cut it down and actually go to the actual tree where Krishna is the root cause. And how can we get detachment is the discussion of shastras, and like by associating with devotees and always keeping your consciousness engaged in devotion, we can develop detachment to the material world and hence cut down this illusion. So in the next verse, we see who is able to surrender to Krishna. Anyone wants to read this?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
May I go ahead? Yeah. निर्माणमोह जितसङ्गदोष आध्यात्मनित्या विनिवृत्तकामा द्वन्द्वैर्विमुक्ता सुखदुःखसंनर्गच्छन्त्यामोढपदमव्ययम् तत्. Translation: those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are free from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom.
So, through this sloka, we understand someone who possesses these qualities is the one who's able to cut down this tree and go back to Krishna conscious to that eternal kingdom. So now in the next verse, Krishna will explain how does his spiritual kingdom look. न तद् भाषयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावक यद्ज्ञात्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धमा paramam mama. That supreme abode of mine is not illuminated by sun or moon nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. So Krishna is saying those people with those qualifications are able to come to the supreme abode of his, and this is how his supreme abode is. And now we'll understand that why none of us like ever feel fulfilled unless we go back to Krishna consciousness. Because there are so many yogas and so many ways to approach Krishna, but why do we have the need to approach Krishna or go back to the Godhead? That will be answered in the next verse, which is 5.7 and 15.7. And that's the second section. So in 15.7, Krishna says that Mamai Vamsha, like we are fragmental parts and parcel of the Lord. That's why we need to go back to Krishna to like feel complete. We need to become one with devotional service so that we can serve the Lord to feel complete. But due to this material life, we are suffering, karshati. Why are we suffering? Because we are constantly changing body, and in yeah, because we are constantly changing body and we are getting stuck in the same karma, doing what we want to do, and then we're getting bondage. So Krishna says is in 5.8, uh, Prabhupada says in the purport that the living entity here, if we see the synopsis, Ishvara is given as living entity. Here we are seeing in the verse that living entity is given the minute independence to decide his consciousness. Like at the end time, if we keep our consciousness clear and think about Krishna, we'll go to Krishna Loka. But okay, we see a bird in the sky and like, oh, I wish to fly like that. We are thinking about that. Then we'll maybe take a birth of a bird in the next life. So we have that very minute independence to think purposefully, consciously think about Krishna or think about something else, which is causing our body to take that next form. So what we can do is keep our consciousness clear and associate with devotees. And even if in this lifetime you're thinking of a bird, you're doing it consciously. You think of a bird, and next life you're being born as a bird. There you have no consciousness. So in the human life where you are able to think consciously, if you don't take up to Krishna, then in the next life you might not get a chance to have a consciousness. You might take some other species, birth in some other species. So only after a lot of difficulty will you get this human life again. So we should make use of that and think about Krishna. It's just like in 5.8, it just says that the soul goes from one body to another, just like how air transports aromas. The soul is not affected by the body, but it's going to one body to another. So even in the next verse, 15.9, Krishna is saying the same thing, that consciousness is clear like water. And whenever you mix some color in the water, then what happens? It gets contaminated by the color. It becomes whatever color you put in. So it's very important to keep our consciousness clear. And in the next verse, we see that who's able to see and who can't see the transmigration of the soul. But means like who's able to identify as the soul and just thinking of themselves as the body. In 5.10 and 5.11, it says that Jnana Chakshusha, someone's eyes trained in knowledge. So and they have to be situated in self-realization and have to practice yoga. Yoga is not the health yoga, it's the something that connects us with Krishna, some like bhakti yoga, or like many yogas are there. So through yoga practice and being self-realizing, like we understand that we are not the body and we are the soul. We can understand that we are just taking up bodies, but this is not our actual position. Who cannot see the transmigration of soul? People who are like covered with desire and lust, they are only thinking about their current body, and like they only want now sense pleasures. So they're not able to see that because they're fooled by their lust and desires. So in the next, this is the section 2, who's able to see the transmigration of the soul and who's not able to see. In section 3, we see that how we can appreciate Krishna's position, even if we just identify with the body, even if we are just like attracted to sense gratification. So even if we are in this body and we identify with this body, we can still see that all the things around us are given by Krishna. It's impossible to even have sense enjoyment without Krishna as the maintainer, because he's the splendor of the sun, moon, electricity, and fire, and he holds the earth which has vegetables, and vegetables are again nourished by the moon. Even to digest, we need Krishna's energy as fire, and he's the life air that is coming and going inside our body. So, even for self enjoyment, we must understand that Krishna is the maintainer of the world. So, in these verses, 15.12 to 15.14, Krishna is saying how he is the maintainer of this world. Even if we are enjoying sense gratification, still we have to pray to Krishna because he is the maintainer. In the next verse, he will say how he is the source of all enjoyment. Uh, can anyone read
I will read.
besides?
सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्ता स्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृद्वेदविद एव चाहम्. Translation: I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedantas, and I am the knower of all the Vedas. Hare Krishna.
So in this verse, Krishna is saying that he only gives us remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Forgetfulness is like he doesn't make us remind of our past lives. Maybe there are many painful memories in our past life, and maybe that will hinder us from living in this life. So he's blessing us with the forgetfulness of the past life, and he gives the knowledge and remembrance to do the work we are currently doing in our present life. So he's telling that he's seated in everyone's heart. So first we see Krishna as the maintainer. Now Krishna is saying that he is the Paramatma. He is residing in everyone's heart, and as Paramatma, he initiates all the activities in our life. Uh, yeah. So maintainer, and by localizing, he's in everyone's heart also. Now that he said that he is the compiler of Vedanta and the knower of Vedas, now that we know that he's the goal of all Vedas, in the next 3 verses, he will say the essence of all the Vedas. Uh, so in the verse 16 to 18, he gives knowledge of our relationship with Krishna. That is the Sambandha. So in 16 to 18, Krishna says that there are two type of people, Shara and Akshara. One is fallible and one is infallible. Fallible is he's deviating from his true nature. Infallible, he's true to his nature, means he's liberated. And in the next verse, Krishna says that Paramatma is greater than both Shara and Akshara. There is a misconception of like the Mayavadis that after they become liberated, they become one with God. But Krishna is like clearly refuting that Paramatma is above both Shara and Akshara. And in the next verse, Krishna says he itself is the supreme because he is the source of both the Brahman and Paramatma features of the absolute truth. So in these three verses, we get to understand that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead and we need to pray to him. So in the next verse, 19th, Krishna says the abhidya, the process of attaining him. Now we have understood that Krishna is the supreme in these three verses. So in the 19th verse, he says that he's the what is the process without doubting. He's a knower of everything, engages in full devotional service. So one should not doubt Krishna, he should have faith in Krishna, and he should understand that Krishna is the source of everything and fully surrender and do devotional service unto Krishna. So that is the process. And in the last verse, Krishna is going to say what is the result or the goal of this process. Anyone wants to decide? Yes, Madhavan.
Hare Krishna. इति गुह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदमुक्तं मया नघ एतद्बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमां स्यात् कृतकृत्यश्च भारत.
Yes, thank you. So in this, the translation is, this is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise and his endeavors will know perfection. So this is the result of surrendering unto Krishna, that he'll never let you fall down, and one will understand the Vedas perfectly if they follow the path of devotional service. And in this verse, Krishna uses anagha, O sinless one. So this is to say the importance that like material activities and devotional activities cannot coexist, that one has to be free from all sinful reactions to completely understand Krishna, otherwise one cannot understand Krishna. But the what Prabhupada is saying in the purport is devotional service is so potent and it's so easy that even if we have even if we're still doing actions, we can still do devotional service, and through that we can attain the stage of sinlessness. So yeah, this is the chapter. I'm sorry it's so short, but I don't know what else to add. And in this chapter, first 5 verses, we understand how detachment is the important principle of bhakti and why it is important and how we can cut the illusion through detachment. And then in the next uh, 7 to 20 shlokas, we understand Purushottama Yoga, or why Krishna is the highest and why he's the goal of our sadhana. We understand Krishna in three levels as a maintainer, and Paramatma in the localized level, he's residing in everyone's heart, and as Bhagwan, the Purushottama. So, yeah, this is the end of the 15th chapter.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you, Hasini. Very nice. Wonderful. Wonderful chapter also. Purushottama Yoga. So what is Purushottama Yoga? Can anybody say? There's the title. Somebody can explain what that Purushottama Yoga referred to. Anybody can please unmute and answer. Who can explain? Just name the title. Why this chapter is entitled, or what's the meaning of this chapter when we say Purushottama Yoga?
Mataji, the yoga of the Supreme Person.
Right, that is a translation that you're telling in the English translation, but what does it mean? When we say Yoga of the Supreme, what does it mean?
Mataji, like in 15.15, that everything is seated in Krishna's heart, and there is remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge all comes from him. That is that knowledge we should understand. If we understand all this, then we will be the knower of all the Vedas.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else would like to say? Thank you. Thanks to Madhava. Thanks to Purmata. Anybody else would like to say? What is Purushottama Yoga? First of all, what is the meaning of yoga?
Connection with the Lord.
To real.
Yeah,
Connection.
Radhika. Yeah, one of you, please. Yeah, Purmata. Radhika, you were trying to say something?
Yes, Maj, I just wanted to say anything that connects us with Krishna is yoga.
Okay. Yeah, Nupurmata, you were trying to say something?
Same, Mataji, same.
Basically, yoga means yunjan. Yunjan means connection. And here the connection is being spoken with whom? Purushottama, Uttama Purusha. So we are trying to get connected with that Uttama Purusha, that means Lord Sri Krishna. So here in this particular chapter, Krishna is teaching us how to get connected with him, connected to him. Yeah, there are different ways of connection. It could be through Karma Yoga, it could be through Gnana Marga Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. But specifically, he's asking in this particular section, this particular chapter, or if you can see this particular section, as you all know, it talks about the Gnana Yoga. So he is giving us a knowledge how to cut, how to get detached from this material world. That is why the very first verse talks about this material world, that this is like a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. And he is giving the metaphor of the banyan tree. Yeah, he's teaching us detachment and surrender, because those who are in the path of Gnana Marga, it is very important that they should get detached from this material world. That is an important aspect. That is, so he is giving us what this material nature is all about. He is giving us that knowledge. And then he says you have to cut that knot. Yeah, you have to cut this tree of attachment with an axe, he says, with the axe of detachment. And he's talking about the surrendering process, how you should be. That's why he talks about nirmana moha, jitasanga dosha. That means you should be free from your false prestige. Then he says illusion, moha is illusion. Then you have to conquer all your false associates, all the association. You have to come out of that. So in this way, he's teaching us the surrendering process, and then he is giving us that allurement, not the question of allurement. He's telling us, he's inviting us to his Dhamma. That is why he's talking about the how his spiritual world is all about, because he is giving you all that knowledge so that you will not have any attachment for this material world, and you will be attracted to his spiritual world, to his spiritual Dhamma. That is why he talks about he talks about this spiritual abode. Then he goes on to say, like, what kind of people come. He talks about the transmigration, yeah, of the living entities, how the mind's power, how the mind is the one which determines the jiva's future. He talks about that, and he talks about the fallible and the infallible. Yeah, so that is a point he says. And then he gives also about his own position. So in this way, he is giving us the knowledge so that we are not illusioned and we are not trapped in this material world. And then we get attracted to his spiritual abode, his spiritual qualities. And then finally, he talks about how the Lord seated as Paramatma is the one. The 15.15 verse is the one. How he gives us the knowledge, he gives us the remembrance, and how this is the crux of everything. So if anybody, you may do so many things. You may try to read a lot of scriptures, Upanishads, everything. But he says, everything emanates from me. I am the source of everything. I am the compiler. That means if we know this one concept, that Krishna is everything, then you will get attracted towards him. So that is why he talks about this 15.15. Then he talks about the two kinds of living entities, Kshara and Akshara. And he says beyond that is somebody which is that Supreme Lord. In this way, he tells. And then the last one he says, Yomam evam asamudo janati purushottamam sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. So finally he concludes that devotional is the important. What he says, whoever knows me as Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting, without any kind of doubts, he is a knower of everything. And he engages in devotional service unto me. Yeah, in all respects. Sarva bhavena bharata. That is why he says. And then he says, that is the Falastuti. He says, Iti gohyatamam shastram idam yuktam maya anagha etad buddha buddhiman syat krita krityasya bharata. Yeah, so this is the Falastuti. So in this way, Krishna is teaching how to get connected with him. That is the crux of this chapter. Though it is just 20 verses, but it is packed with philosophy and lot of practical applications. So thanks, Hasini, for taking us through this wonderful chapter. In fact, this Purushottam Yoga is always chanted during the Purushottama month. During Damodara month also you can chant. And this is also chanted when somebody leaves their body. 12, 15 chapter is recited, especially 12th chapter, 15th chapter. These are some of the chapters when somebody leaves their body. These chapters are recited, yeah, for the safe destination and well-being of the soul. So in that sense also, this is a very, very important chapter. Okay, so thank you. Thank you, Hasini. Anybody, any questions?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji, you told that there are lots of practical application in this chapter. Can you please explain few?
Yeah, now that because I have another engagement, I'll not be able to. But then, yeah, you would like to say something, Hasini? Most importantly, what? If you may all understand.
Detachment from the material.
Yeah, how you should not become illusioned. How? Because first the practical application is to understand that whatever we see here, the source is in the spiritual world. That is the first practical application. Everything emanates from that Supreme Lord, and what we are seeing here is only a perverted reflection. So we should not go behind reflection, but actually we should go to the source. That is what is the first and most important practical application here. And from then on, everything builds up. Yeah, that is the first most important application here. And people don't like, it is something like chasing a mirage. Yeah, suppose in a hot desert, you're going, they say, no, Mrigatrishna. You don't get anything, right? So you should not be chasing behind these material things because they are temporary. But you should be actually going to the source, which is a spiritual world, which is a spiritual abode, where the Supreme Lord resides eternally. And how he's inviting all of us to be in his Dhamma. That is the most important thing here. That is what Krishna is saying.
Mataji, the person who are in distress, we know who can surrender to God, who can it be distressed, or who aspire for money, or jigyasu, jnani. So, sometimes it happens like in the distress situation, people are keeping their distance with the Lord, like they are feeling that it has done by Him only. Why have to being surrendered unto Him? The distress has been given to give them by Him only.
Right? Because they've still not developed that faith. That's the reason they feel, why the problem is for me? Why me? Moreover, I'm doing all this, but why me?
Yes.
That is what they think. Yeah.
Then how to explain them, Mataji?
So that will come only by Shraddha, Mataji. The more and more they associate. See, overnight they will not get that faith, right? Until how a faith develops, how you can make a person love somebody, unless and until you know about that person, simply you cannot say, oh, you from today onwards you start loving. So they should know about Krishna. then only they can start loving. Only then they will understand, they can develop that faith. But to get that faith, they should come for they should constantly associate with like-minded devotees who are practicing this path very, very seriously. Once they do this, then their faith will become strong. Then they will understand whatever I'm going through is because as you sow, so you reap. It is not that Krishna is to be blamed. It is me who is to be blamed, myself, for what I am. So how do I rectify the situation? So they will start getting this attitude. They'll start thinking in this direction. Until then, we have to slowly give them in small doses and tell them, but we have to be very, very sympathetic to them, empathic to them, listen to them, and tell them, no, no issue, please come, everything will be fine. Like that, you should slowly tell them. You cannot say, oh, it's your karma, that's why you're suffering. You cannot tell them directly like that. But you should tell them that, but those people who are, that means if they are doing something and they have gotten distressed and they are thinking that, oh, in spite of my doing, Krishna is doing like that, means they have not developed sufficient faith. Their faith is very weak. That's why they're telling like this. But those who have developed strong faith will never say so.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Like I said, one can be free from this entanglement when you have developed a strong desire to enter into the spiritual world. That is why Krishna is giving us the knowledge about the spiritual world. That is one thing. And then we should understand how this entire material world is temporary. That is another important lesson that we learn from this particular chapter. And also, he says that why he's giving also these different branches and everything, because unless and until you attain the spiritual world, you will continuously be in this cycle only. That is why he's talking about the process of transmigration also. Because only in the spiritual world, he says, no, et gatvara nivartante tattha paramamma. Whoever comes there, they will not come back here. Who understands me in tattvataha, janma karma chame divyam evam yo eti tattvataha, tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti, so Arjuna. So when you understand it in tattvata, that means in reality, in fullness, in absoluteness, such people will not take birth again here. So that is the reason he also says one should attain the spiritual world. Otherwise, you'll be continuously in this process only, in this transmigration. You'll keep on taking bodies. That is the next point he says in this. That is another practical application in this particular chapter. And it also gives us the identity, his connection. Mamai Vamsho Jivaloka. He's telling, who are you? He's giving us an identity. So you are understanding without knowing this. Yeah. Without knowing this, you are getting crushed. Mamai Vamsho Jivaloke, Jivabhuta Sanatana.
Manasastani Indriyani
Prakritistani Karshati. Yeah. The senses with the mind. Because it is because of that you are struggling in this material world. And it is not for you. You have to come out, he says. That is the next important thing. And then he says, he talks about what is Ishvara. And he also says how the living entities, they acquire a material body, material mind, and how they carry all these conceptions from one life to another. And he's given the example now, just like the air carries the aroma. So he talks about this aspect also. In this way, we also carry our impressions from lifetimes, life immemorial. It goes on and on. So this is the next part, he says. And then the other lesson he talks about is those who are those living entities who can appreciate the Lord Krishna's position. He talks about his maintainership, how he maintains. That's why he says, Kama Vishacha Bhutani Darayami Am Ojasa. He tells how I am the one who go into each and every universe. And he says, I am the Ed Adhikatam Tejo, Jagat Bhashiyate Akilam. I am the splendor of the sun, moon, electricity, everything comes from me. So he gives that wonderful aspect also. So when he talks about all these things, it helps us to contemplate or understand how even if you have to enjoy, it is not possible without the assistance of the Supreme Lord. So slowly we start appreciating how Krishna is a maintainer. Even if somebody wants to enjoy in this material world, still we need the assistance of Krishna. Because even if somebody wants to go in a moonlit, who is enjoying the moonlit night, that means it is a center of that, it is that cooling rays, and that comes from Krishna. So everything emanates from Krishna. In this way, he says, yeah, so even if you want, and then he talks about Rasatmakaha. What is that verse? Verse number 13. I am the one, Pushnami Chausni Sarvaha, Somo Bhutva Rasatmaka. He says, even I am the one who give you nourishment, because only because the moon rays does all the plants, everything get nourished. That is why we are getting wonderful fruits, juices. All this is because of the Supreme Lord. That is what he says. Yeah, and then he also said, forget about everything. Aham Vaishvanara Bhutva. Even the digestion, the fire of digestion is me. I am there in sitting in you, helping you to digest. Yeah, aham Vaishvanara Bhutva, Praninam Deham Ashritaha, Prana Apana Samayuktaha, Pacham Annam Chaturvidam. I am the one who helps you digest. I am the outgoing, the exhaling, the inhale and exhale, the prana, apana. Both of them are me, he says. So in this way, he's telling all his opulences in one way. So this is how we understand the whole aspect. Ultimately, the whole process of doing all activities is the culmination is to understand that Supreme Lord who is seated as Krishna in our heart as a Paramatma. That point also he says. And then what does he talk about? Then he says that he says about 16, 17, 18, all of them, they talk about how it is more confidential. Krishna is the supreme and is a worshipable being, he says, no? Yeah, that is the conclusion. He talks about Kshara and Akshara, fallible and infallible. He's infallible. Infallible means we are all conditioned, we are all fallible. We tend to make mistakes. We have all the flaws in us. But Krishna is not like that. And also fallible also means one who can give up a promise. But Krishna is infallible. Infallible means one who sticks to his duty. Or Achyuta. Achyuta means what? We all say Achyuta Gotra. Once we get our initiation, we say Achyuta. Means Achyuta means one who never fails from his duty. Krishna never fails. Yeah. So when we also take initiation, we should never fail from a duty. Fail from a duty of surrendering to the Supreme Lord. Do duty of doing our regulative principles, chanting, and helping our Guru Maharaj in his mission. All this is spoken here. Fallible means conditioned, who is in the material world, and infallible means one who is liberated in the spiritual world. He talks about that aspect also. And then in the verse number 17, he refutes the Mayavadi philosophy. That is the most important thing in verse number 17. How he says he's a maintainer. So that aspect is given in verse number 17. Then in verse number 18, he talks about how he's the actual supreme super soul. That is what is spoken in verse number 18. And then in verse number 19, he talks about the knower, right? Yeah, one who knows, one who engages. Once who knows all this, that I'm the Supreme Personality Godhead, such a person without any deviation, he engages in my service, he says. Yeah, bhajati. Bhajati is a very, very important word being used here. Because this word bhaja is always in relationship with the Supreme Lord. Krishna, bhajati, we do bhaja. That is with Krishna, a person engaged. The others all we say puja, but for Krishna it is bhakti. That also we have to understand, which Prabhupada tells several times. Many times he's spoken this. Then verse number 20, he says that this verse summarizes the entire chapter 15. That is the conclusion of verse 20 is a conclusion of chapter number 15, wherein the knowledge is explained in this chapter. And he says the essence of the Vedanta is given in this chapter, especially 15.15. And he says, what is the result of understanding this? They will become wise. And whatever he does, his efforts will attain perfection. And who can do that? One who is an anagha, one who is sinless, only that person. So, to understand Purushottama Yoga itself, we have to become sinless. That is what he says. Unless, until why sinless? Because till you have those kind of envious nature in you, yeah, a desire to enjoy separately from Krishna, then you'll not be able to connect with that Supreme Lord. You can never connect with that Supreme Lord. That is why this is called Purushottama Yoga. So to understand Purushottama Yoga, we have to be anagha, sinless. And how you can do that? By breaking our attachment, by understanding Krishna is the source, he is a maintainer, he is the supreme Paramatma sitting in our heart from where everything comes, and we have to surrender to him. So that is how this chapter is concluding. So in this way, we find so many wonderful lessons in this particular chapter 15.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Hasini.
Thank you. Thank you. So thanks, Hasini. You've also done a very wonderful job today. And those of you who have attended Hasini's session the first time. So Hasini is the dear daughter of His Grace Raviteja Gaura Haridas Prabhu and Her Grace Uttamangi Mani Devi Dasi Mata. She finished her grade 12 and she's going to enter her graduation. She'll be joining one of the NITs in India and pursuing her engineering graduation. So we wish Hasini all the very best in her academic life, in her material and spiritual pursuits. And thanks, Hasini, for taking us through this wonderful chapter, a very, very important chapter in one's life. And in fact, these verses are so nectarian that you should all take time to memorize this entire chapter. We should all do this. Okay. So, anybody would like to say a few words of encouragement? Radhita, Dhruv, I don't know, is it Dhruv Singh or Dhruv Dino? I don't know which Dhruv it is. Radhita, Devyani, can you say some few words of encouragement to Hasini?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna, pranams. Thank you, Hasini, for the wonderful session. All your classes, the material, the way you present it is not like you're trying to show off. Oh, this is what I have understood. Rather, it feels like a very genuine effort to try to make us understand the contents of the chapter to the best of your ability, and with the, you present it very sincerely. Hare Krishna, and very humble also. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Devyani. Very aptly put. Yes, even I have noticed Hasini is very, very true and honest in her presentation. And she talks because she understands and then she talks. It is not that she takes things from here and there and says. So that is something very simple in heart and very, very simple in every manner, very true to everything. Thank you, Hasini. I'm very happy to hear your classes and may Krishna bless you, dear. And all the very best in all your pursuits. May Krishna bless you. Okay, beta. Take care, beta. Have you arranged any quiz or anything?
Yes, ma'am. I'll share.
Is it a Google form?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you can share the link and then you please do the Vaishnav Pranam mantra because once they all do their Google form with the quiz, they can as such leave. But you post the link, do the Vaishnav Pranam, and then we can end the session. Yeah, thank you, beta. So this is the thank you. Very nice. Yeah. So, beta, can you do the closing prayers? Sorry, you can do the Vaishnav Pranam, please.
वञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
Thank you, Hasini. Thanks once again. And thanks to all the assembled devotees. So we are in the 15th chapter. 3 more chapters to go. So I request all of you to please come back from Monday. Saturday, Sunday, it's a break. So we assemble back on Monday. Same time, same link. Okay? Take care. Have a great day. May Krishna bless you all. Okay?
Hare
So
Krishna,
with
Mataji.
this, Hare Krishna. With this, session for the day. Okay? Bye. Take